But
yeah,
all right.
These two at the bottom.
Right, exactly. All right. Hi, everybody. I know you can't see me yet, but if you're seeing the replay, you can. So, hello. Welcome. Thank you for watching the replay or the great value version of the live, as we like to say here. I'm the only. No,
I've never heard anyone say that before.
Heather's rock checking it real hard right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying I dislike live show replays. They're not as much fun. But anyways, if you are watching it, thanks. And then I think that you can see us if you're on YouTube now. So hi everyone. Just the four of us tonight. There are possible 6, so there's also possibly Robin at Paperbacks and Planners and Shay at Shay Geeks Out. Every live show will probably be ranging somewhere between 2 to 6 of us, just depending on everyone's schedule. So they couldn't be here tonight, but it'll just be a variety based on the month, honestly, and the day and the hour.
I now want to make a plan where it's just Heather doing a live at some point.
That's so
we will
mean.
all make a side group chat.
Like as soon as you go live, the rest of us just drop, and it's just Heather.
You act like I cannot carry my own live show. I can talk for all of us. It'll be fine. Anyways, all right. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for showing up. Today is Chick Reawakening, which is the prequel, which was written later, actually. I meant
which
to...
is technically like book 8.5.
When? Can somebody look when Chick came out and when Chick Reawakening came out?
Reawakening came out before 9.
I know that, woman. I want to know years. Years!
I'm looking. Give me 2 seconds.
I want a date.
2017 for Reawakening. And then 2008 for Chick, which I was convinced Chick came out in like 2005.
Right.
As we were reading it. But I think that's when it was probably written.
Yeah.
It had to have been written like 2005.
The thick, tiny scarves and cowboy boots with skirts.
Yes. Which we will get to. We will get to that. So those are the books that the live show is about. So first, I want everyone to say if this is a reread, if you've read any other Kristen Ashley or Chicks, your expectations before going into the books, your rating, and also your channel. So let's start with
this list beforehand because I'm not going to remember all of those things.
I know. I was like, man, that's a lot of questions, Heather.
Have you ever read Chick before? What were your expectations, your rating, your channel? I'll type it. I'll put it in a comment. Let me put it in a comment.
It's okay. Done. It's in the private chat.
Okay, thank you.
Job, Izzy.
I love this.
So professional. I am Steph from the Novelty Corner. I have not read Chick before. I have read 3 Kristen Ashley books, all on Heather's recommendation. That way. I don't know. I'm confused. We've talked about this. It's a weird weekend for me. I don't know what my expectations were besides banana pants. And also, I feel like there is a little bit of a cultural divide between me and these books. Just a smidge.
Oh, that's true.
But it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. And I can't remember what I rated the novella. I actually consistently enjoyed the characters better in the novella in terms of liking all of the characters at the same level. But the first book was probably like a 3.5 star, I think.
Yeah.
But yes.
That tracks. Izzy?
Hello. I am the other rereader of the group. Are we the only 2, Heather, who have read this whole series?
Megan too.
Oh, Megan too. Okay. So I was like some of us, but it's just like half and half for the whole group.
Yes.
Doing the read along. But it was my first time reading Reawakening because it came out long after my previous read-throughs, kind of. This is my 3rd read-through of Chicks.
I love it.
I do need to note that. This reread that I did ended one day before my last reread happened in 2019, which was real weird. I was like, okay. Apparently I reread it in January.
It's that time of year.
Every 5 years.
January is my reread month, man.
So we'll see it again in 2030, I guess. Maybe 2029, depending on my mood.
That's wild.
But yeah, this is a reread for me. This is one of those series that was part of my earlier romance journey. Like, I first read it in 2012. I can see so many of the things I like in romance in this series, like the like origins of it. So like, I don't know, my expectation was just bonkers. It was going to be a good time. I know I don't love book one as much as I like other books in the series. And then also that just like there were going to be weird content warnings that I would be like, whoa, what is going on? And then I'd have to be like, this was written in 2008.
Right.
So that's what's going on. But I didn't mind the novella. I gave that like a 4.5 maybe, and Rock Chicks itself like a 4, because it has a really heavy nostalgia lean for me when I reread it. But it's not like it's almost like a 6-star favorite, but it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because like some of the stuff in it is so...
It's a nostalgic star.
Yeah, but it like quality-wise, it is not a 6-star. But I did really love that novella. It is peak.
Peak on.
And just rock on.
Megan.
Hi, I am also rereading this. I've read all of the Rock Chick books. Let me see. I think before we even started this in like December, I reread all of the Colorado Men series because that's my favorite one with the Gamble. I love the Gamble. And then now we're doing this one. And then I've also read the Men, the Quiet Man, the Law Man, the whatever, the Mystery Men series or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like slowly making my way through Kristen Ashley books.
Yeah, which the Dream Man series.
Like never left this series. Really?
Oh, really?
I think I read
That's
some
wild
of the Mystery Man ones.
This series. Are you done, Megan? Because I'm about to start my whole thing.
Sorry.
So
no, please do. Yeah, no, I'm done. I don't post videos.
Okay, because I got distracted.
I didn't get my channel name, but it's fine. If you don't know me, that's fine.
I'm Meowth Vader. Have fun looking at my old stuff.
What was I saying? What did you guys say?
I'm talking about how I haven't really read anything but Rock Chick.
And I said I love the Gamble.
Yes. Okay. So for me, I know a ton of people have come to Kristen Ashley through this series, and I'm not sure if Rock Chick was her first book or not, but I don't think it's a great place to start with her. I don't think it's her best series. I do think it's a fun, over-the-top, ridiculous time. If you like alpha, if you like romantic suspense, all of those things, it is enjoyable. But is this what I would recommend you to try Kristen Ashley with? No, the answer is always you should try the hookup. That is my recommendation.
I've never read the hookup.
I think the hookup. Megan, don't start with me. Don't. Izzy hasn't either, even though it literally has her name, and she was looking for books with Izzy and whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
It'll go on the next list when I read my name.
The hookup has a lot of the same elements, but much more toned down and much more palatable, I think, for a wider audience. And it's just part of their book and their romance. A lot of it is just contemporary romance in the hookup. So that's where I think you should start. I mean, obviously you're here for Rock Chick, so there's that. But, I don't think it's her best series. For me, it's like a 4-star series, and that's because I like Kristen Ashley's writing. It works for me. Her characters work for me, even when they are ridiculous and over the top, which I do think that this first book is. I will say that the series, I think, 1, gets better, and 2, gets darker in a lot of ways. You're going to have a main character that gets shot. You're going to have a main character that gets raped. And there's like a few other things that are going to pop up in the series that I don't know like which books they're in or anything like that. But
Hits and the Mafia also become more prominent.
Well, I don't care. I don't I don't really consider that like a big content thing, because if you are doing romantic suspense or mafia, like you assume that there are a lot of those in it, but like not every book is your main character going to.
Yeah, I remember reckoning this as someone, and they were like, you didn't, and I was like, I totally forgot that happened in that book, because all of these books become one blur of plot.
Very much so. So, do proceed with caution as you go on. Obviously, anything that we know for the next live show will warn you, but it's like farther, like books 7 and 8 that I think get darkest. But
I think it's 6.
Maybe we'll know when Let me get there.
I'm trying to think of, because you had warned me when I said I had started this series, and I think it was 6.
For the shooting, maybe. I know that's not the rape one, but
yeah, I don't remember. I think it was Regret that was the assault.
Regret is rape. Yeah. So I've read the first book 2 or 3 times. I'm not 100% sure, but I've only read the series once, and I DNF'd one of them also. That's fine. We're gonna read them now. So yeah, my rating is like a 4-star. Honestly, this read would have been like a 3-star, but if I've read it multiple times, I'm not reading a 3-star book multiple times, so like that's just inaccurate. I'm not doing that. So I'd say like a 4. But yeah, I do think that a lot of the things that people may find a bit abrasive in this first book get either smoothed out a little bit, or the series itself ends up poking fun of itself and be like, this is ridiculous. Can we go a week without something happening?
This series also, though, like in general, if you're not ready for heroines that are basically here to like torture the heroes in every way possible by making bad choices, it's not the book series for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Slash not listening. Maybe not bad choices, just making their own choices.
Well, and
it's a lot of party chicks just being woo girls and such.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a lot of shenanigans.
But solving crimes.
Right.
And eating cashews, the fancy nut.
It's a lot. Right. The party nut. It's also a lot of the woman being ridiculous and then the men saving them. So like if that's not your thing too, it's going to happen over and over and over again. So there's that. Not completely. Again, it does evolve a little bit, but it's there.
I really need to publish the bingo board that is in my brain on my Instagram, because I really do have a like Kristen Ashley bingo board. It's like it will mention motorcycles. It will have like 4-page long descriptions of people's outfits.
Right.
That are atrocious.
Definitely do it.
Someone will say pure class at least once.
Yes, you're right. Honestly, Rock Chick and Ghosts of Reincarnations are not bad series to kind of put off, in my opinion. Yes. Morgan finally
fully
read.
Disagree.
Yeah, and then went straight into The Quiet Man and hated that one. So like
she didn't tell me that. She told me she was reading it. She didn't tell me she hated it. Morgan, how could you? Yes,
I just told on
like
Morgan.
Okay, so let's start with Rock Chick Reawakening. So this one was a little bit heavier. I definitely think I had never read it before. I definitely think that it's for people who have already loved Daisy and Marcus, which I believe we meet Daisy in the next book. I think if I'm remembering.
We met Marcus in this one, and we meet Daisy in the next one.
Yeah, so Daisy's coming up. But I think if you don't already know and love them through a few books, I don't think that the prequel would really matter much to you, because it's definitely written as you've read 7 books of the Rock Chick series. Here's how Daisy and Marcus met.
Yeah.
So, right.
And can I say, as someone who has not read anything in the series, and I read the prequel in order, no, I don't think it matters for the first book in the series, but I actually really liked it as a novella. I thought it was really solid, and like the characterization and the character, like you sort of got a sense of where they sat. And I think some people said it kind of spoils couples later on and whatever. I just didn't pay any attention to that.
Right.
Well, I mean, it just like literally like the epilogue thing, like they have all of the couples at like one of the events, and I was like, you just told everyone who everyone is with, which like you kind of know, okay? Like I'm not saying you don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty each book in, right? We knew every hero that got introduced in book 1 that's coming.
It's a prequel. It is marked as book 8.5 in like the series.
It's also marked as 0.5 randomly 2 places.
It's both.
It's like it's like if you've read them before, the timeline, it comes before everything. But if you haven't read them before, then the last book would be like a nice cherry on top, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I really enjoyed it.
Good.
I did. I
enjoy the
like
prequel
Daisy.
a lot. It was my first read. It's so fun. I hated the Southern accent though. That was on the audiobook.
You will continue to have
I
the
was
Southern
ready to
accent for
fight.
Daisy in the audiobooks. That is
I
Daisy's
know.
voice.
It's just so bad. It's not a well done Southern accent.
It's not.
It's like the narrator watched every Southern movie and was like, let me put it on as thick as I can, but also not locational specific because like Southern accents vary so widely across the South that I was just like very annoyed. I was like, Daisy would not sound like this after living in Colorado for like 2 years either.
No.
So, how did you all feel about the novella as a whole? I know Steph said she loved it.
Okay, so here's the
I
thing.
loved it. I loved Marcus.
There were
I felt like he was
scenes.
such a good hero.
There were scenes where it was describing like the move she did on the pole, and my brain is like trying to figure out how this whole thing works.
I just ignored him.
Like, I literally was like, I don't think someone can bend like this.
I can barely see it.
I don't know.
I was like, whatever.
I feel like if you watch videos of people that do like pole work, like they can do some stuff that I go, your body can move like that.
Yeah.
Every
it's
time.
Just, like the way I was like, I don't think those two moves can connect together because it's like something that was both forwards and then like backwards at the same time. And I'm like, wait a minute, but she's not facing that direction.
I would imagine that Kristen Ashley writes scenes that she is
follow up.
When it comes
you
to
cannot
and stuff.
You cannot do a gripped pose in blue jeans. Like you just can't. It requires skin. That's the grip.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, and she's in her like full length skinny jeans climbing up this pole. And I'm like, girl is not using her legs. She is only climbing using her arms because you get zero grip
She's
from that.
Buff.
Right.
I just imagine
she's
Daisy
buff
is
as hell.
secretly buff.
She's for real. Because I'm just like, I was like, there's no grip. It's cloth. I have done this before. You can't do that.
Right.
Daisy can because she's magic.
Because Daisy is magical. She has Dolly Parton on her side.
She does.
I have a feeling this is where not being able to visualize comes in really handy because I just don't pay any attention.
I
to them.
didn't really visualize it either, to be honest, because I didn't care enough to. I was like, oh,
she climbed up in her blue jeans, and I was immediately like,
I missed this.
No, she did not. It took me out of it. I was like, no, she did not.
I loved this so much because I felt like Marcus was a very different hero than Liam or Lee that we get in book one. And that was such a, like, so I read book one first, and we read this. And I just felt like he was such a nice juxtaposition to Lee, who I still like really enjoy as a hero too. But Marcus just like he was so soft with her in a way that I don't know that I expected out of a Kristen Ashley book always.
Also because we've never really gotten Marcus's point of view or anything. He's always been kind of this scary, slightly criminal Daisy's husband guy. So it was cool again to see him as the hero.
Like he's kind of silent and scary because it's like he's the one they bring in when they need to get
right. He's silent and scary in a lot of books, but here he was very soft and sweet.
I mean, he's also like kind of scary in this one too, but like it's also like tapered with him being like I mean, the other sides we watch him be like so incredibly caring about like how their relationship moves forward and giving Daisy the like appropriate attention, but not like making her uncomfortable after what she went through.
Right. Speaking of, how do you all feel that was handled? Not only the descriptions and stuff, but specifically Marcus's care with Daisy and the relationship.
I love Marcus.
Yeah.
That's it. I just love Marcus.
I liked it.
I thought it was well done. I really enjoyed I don't know that I've read a ton of that on page in my romance books, like aftercare for like such a traumatic event. And like taking those steps. I'm not saying like I've never read it, but I don't feel like we see it often. It's usually like straight to revenge in the books I read, I feel like. And you know, I mean, time passes. I'm not saying like they're being like forced into things either afterwards, but I think it was really sweet to see that happen in a book, even a book from 2017. Like, I don't know that I would have expected it.
Yeah, like
go ahead.
He, you know, he cared enough to actually do research into finding out how to care for
Mhm.
Daisy afterwards.
Right.
And we definitely don't get that as often on page.
Right. I
would like
did
more of that
find
on
it-
page.
It
Yeah.
would be nice to have more of that on page.
I found it interesting that he was talking to a counselor and stuff when she refused to. He didn't make her, but he was still seeking the advice of a counselor,
Mhm.
which I thought was smart. I will say when this does happen again later on in the series, that also there's a lot of recovery time, I guess,
Mhm.
before we move on to a relationship. How do you all feel about Daisy's Dolly Parton impression style? I
mean,
it.
hey, if you're gonna get a free boob job, man, get your free boob job, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, I think it worked. I felt like it's kind of weird sometimes to read, like, I don't know, making characters into like kind of a almost human, like real person. But like at the same time, I still felt like she was different enough that it was fine.
Right.
She wore high heels that had a lipstick tube sculpture as the heel in one of the scenes.
Mhm.
I
She
vividly
did.
remember this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know
It
that
was
Dolly
in, like-
Parton was rough like that, so like that helps break her apart for me some.
Yeah.
But I mean, like in the South and in a lot of places, like Dolly is a big deal, and it
Right.
makes sense. Like, I mean, I live in the home state of Dolly. Like, she's a
Right.
big deal.
Right. Yeah, I don't feel like it is a one-for-one overlap of Dolly Parton, but I feel like everyone
Mhm.
understands that Dolly Parton is the style icon that she
Yes.
is emulating.
100%.
She is one of those characters that I find extremely interesting because I would never wear any of the things that she wears. I would probably never do any of the things that she does, but I feel like I would still like her, you know? And I think that she makes her a very likable character, even when you're like, well, that's wild, but you do you.
Mhm.
Well,
And
she's
that's
kind
it.
of she's overcome a lot, and she's taken control of
Mhm.
her own life, and
Yes.
Mhm.
is a good person on top of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will
I would
say
personally be
when,
friends with her, but I would also be like, what are you putting on? What are you doing?
that's like if that's what you like, you can
Then I'd
like
be like, if
it.
it makes sense, that's
It
fine.
doesn't have to be what I like. When Marcus gave her the pearls on their wedding day, I cried.
Oh my god, I was just like,
I
oh
got
my
teary eyed.
God.
I was driving and I got teary eyed.
Hello, children. Carry on.
Hi, children.
The pearls also made me teary eyed, and I was like,
I know.
he found them, which I knew he would, and we knew that was coming. But I was just like, I always get teary eyed
Also-
at least once.
Mm.
in one
It was
of her
also fun to
books,
see
so.
like the beginning of Lee's agency.
Yes.
Where
The
It was
beginning
like,
of
are you
Agency
sure you don't
was
want
great.
someone else? And he's like, nah, we're going with this dude. I feel good things about this dude. And he delivered. Him
Mhm.
and Luke
And
his
how mad
mustache.
him and his guys were about what happened to Daisy, and they didn't even
Mhm.
know her. It was just like
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I feel like that is one of the green flags of men is when, again, like they care that something bad has happened to a woman or a
Mhm.
child, and it's not because of their personal relationship to them or their personal attraction to them. It's just because they are not happy that that would happen to anyone. And I think that that is not as common as we would like to believe.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
She calls Marcus honey bunches of oats and honey bunches of love, and that just popped into my brain, and I just needed to share it because I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I love that.
It is. Big scary man with the like most adorable nickname.
Honey bunches of love.
One thing that you get you get some of it in the prequel, but through most of the series, Daisy and Marcus cannot have children and are trying to and are not able to. So in some ways it was kind of cool to see their epilogue where they had a couple of kids, and in other ways it was kind of, well, we had kids. All those years of trying are not really addressed. But I know I told you guys in the chat that obviously can be a problem in romance books in general, that infertility and other common issues like that are not handled with a lot of care. They're just, it's a book, it's a happily ever after. Of course we fixed it. And that can be insensitive. But also, I am a child that was born after 8 years of not being able to have kids, and then was immediately followed by a little sister, and then another 20 years with no kids, So it does happen. It's not just a happily ever after romance book. Let's magically fix this. But it was.
But Kristen Ashley, I would say, subscribes to the old school romance vibes. So like, I fully expect that. I forgot about their infertility struggles. But it didn't surprise me. I know Shay was with me when we were listening in the car. She's like, oh no, they're gonna, like, when we were getting towards the end, she was like, they're just gonna magically have kids, aren't they? And I was like, yeah, that's what Kristen Ashley does. Like, she's very much in that like 80s, 90s books that it just happens, and that's what it is.
Right.
Whereas now I feel like more modern books, we're seeing more of that actually like addressed. Or the choice to not have kids addressed. So that's nice.
Exactly. Because married with 2 kids and 2 pets and all of that is not the only way to be happy. That's not the only good choice in life. So yeah. Do you all have anything else to say about the prequel, or should we move on to the main novel?
Give us Rock Chicks.
Okay. Rock Chick. Indy is her own worst enemy.
I also love how they were cockblocked throughout most of the book. It made me laugh every time.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
They are placed there to terrorize not only their love interest, but also every other man in the book.
All the men.
Yes.
That is their job. Terrorize the men.
Yes. I love it.
Well. I will say, I remember the first time reading this, because you all know I don't like second chance romance. I remember being frustrated, particularly by the fact that it had been 10 years. I was like, you all have spent, you are practically together every week at a family gathering, and you have let a decade pass without, and not only that, but he was like, well, you had a man by the time I came back. And then it also mentions that her longest relationship was 8 months. I was like, so every 4 to 8 months, you had another chance, and you were just like, yeah.
And she threw herself at him, and he turned her down. So it's not like she was like quietly pining.
That was completely understandable, though, because she was quietly pining for the last decade. That's the problem.
But I'm saying, like, it was understandable, but basically, it's like she made her move. He needed to make his move, because she was like, he says, I'm a sister. I'm gonna respect that.
Right. And by that time, they were both adults.
Yeah.
So.
And so he's like, yeah, I had my reasons, and his reasons made sense, but she can't read his mind because he didn't say it. He lied.
Right.
Oh,
it's not like he couldn't have at any point in one of those weekends that she was actually single just been like, hey, we need to chat.
Yeah.
A male main character who can't communicate. How strange.
I mean,
didn't bother to.
Surprise.
And now
weird.
He can when he chooses to, but he just wanted to wait till they were in their 30s, I guess.
Yeah.
He was like,
I think he was hoping her party days were done, but I have bad news. Her party days are never ending. She will be 80 partying.
Still partying.
Right.
That is Indy through and through.
Yes,
party girl.
Yeah.
She's great.
But also,
I love her and her chaos.
She is very chaotic.
I still can't figure out how the bookstore was profitable in any capacity, even with the
She kept like buying things and buying more of each thing than she needed, and buying it like the most expensive place she could. And I was like, how are you affording this? I don't understand.
But even just that, someone will open, or someone will be there, or someone will do this, and then it'll close when they feel like it. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a really great place to work, but how is it?
I feel like the bookstore because her grandma, like, it was her grandma's first. I feel like her grandma somehow got in at the ground level where she literally owns that place.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there is no rent.
I mean, I think so. They do own the building. There's like no rent.
Like
Yeah,
they
just
don't
tax
they
stuff.
don't bring in like buy in books other than the ones that people are selling to them occasionally for a far lower cost. And
It doesn't matter though.
if someone buys it, they buy it. The only thing they invested in was
It's
a
still got
espresso
utilities.
machine.
You're paying multiple salaries though, and Andy apparently can just spend any money she wants. All
To
the
be fair,
time.
I don't think Rosie took a whole lot of salary.
It doesn't make any sense. It's fine.
No, the
It's fine.
Fortnum's does not stay open in the real world, but it's fine in the fictional world.
Right.
Well, it maybe does by the end of the book series, but
Right, exactly. By the end, it's like a major draw. But at the
I feel like
beginning,
Rosie was the only reason that they were as profitable as they were because he knew how to sling coffee.
right,
Yeah.
for sure. But still, you're paying a lot of salaries on some coffee. Not a lot of coffee either, just some coffee.
Mhm.
They're paid with
With-
hopes and dreams, baby. Hopes and dreams.
With
And rock and roll.
With Indy being her own worst enemy and Lee bothering to make a move for a decade, we had a lot of dubious consent at the beginning of this book where she is like constantly trying to escape him and he is constantly trying to pin her down. So that I feel like was not that great. I remember again the first time probably liking it more. And again, I don't think that you would write this book in 2024 the way that you wrote it back then, but nonetheless, and it was annoying because it again does dubious consent in the way that romance books do that you cannot do in real life, where you know that the main character actively wants to be with this person, even though the main character is not communicating that in any of their actions or words or choices. But because you're a romance reader reading a romance book, you can be like, well, the main character wants to be with him. He's the love of her life. She's loved him since she was 5 years old. And in reality, you can never be like, well, I know they're saying no, but actually they love me. You can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see-
it does do that really well.
I mean, I had issues with Lee in the whole book. Like, he was my least favorite character. But like, it's the whole idea of, well, you're telling her what to do and expecting her to do what you're telling her to do, and yet you are doing the complete opposite every time she tells you to stop doing something. And there's a couple of times where she explicitly says, don't do it. And he does. I'm like, well, come on.
I
It's a bit of
remember
He is not my favorite.
I like
Lee's
Lee.
favorite
I
here
don't
either.
like Lee as much in his book.
I do
like
think
side
he's better in
character.
other books. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I character.
I like Lee in
Well,
other
and-
books.
And also, he is a product of his time, and yes, he is an alpha character, and and it can go either way with me with alpha characters. It depends sort of on the context. And I was just more frustrated that he was 100% expecting someone he knew was chaos personified to do what he was telling, and then getting frustrated and she didn't
Like,
do it.
literally, he spent how many years picking them up, like tumbling drunk out of parties and places and driving them home. Like, you knew.
Yeah.
And don't get mad at her for doing it because you knew she was going to do it.
Right. I think the thing that was most frustrating for the main characters that I thought, or for Lee and the other men that I thought was understandable, is it's one thing to be chaos personified. It's another to be constantly getting kidnapped and shot at. And literally, like, they're imagining you dead alongside the road. And it's not that big of a jump because of the circumstances that you're currently in. And you
Because
will
you're
not
told, stay
the
here,
fuck
and you
out.
leave every time.
Like I would be quite frustrated too at that point, but everything else, it's the romantic suspense elements, the kidnappings, all that, alongside the don't wear that, stay
I
here.
do love
don't...
the one time she took her life into consideration. Allie did not, and they went on a high-speed car chase.
Right. She was like, we're fucking dying.
Like, she's like, no, actually, this is a bad idea. For once, this is a bad idea. And Allie is like, shut up, and zoom.
Right.
And she's like, that's not the rock chick way.
Yeah.
High speed car chase.
High speed car.
Besides the dubious consent, can you go talk to Daddy? Besides the dubious consent and the random fat shaming about Oreos and gaining weight because you were going through
That
something
friend is the
emotional.
worst.
And also like talking about going on a diet and stuff. I don't know. I didn't like any of that. There was also a lot of propaganda in this book. A lot of propaganda. Starting with the like opening page. Don't mess with the mouse. It'll mess with that. Thank you. Where she's like the karma of being a cop daughter. I was like, what karma are you talking about right now? And also you will notice every single cop in this series, or at least in this book, is 1, good looking, or 2, fatherly, and they're all fantastic, amazing human beings who are protecting and serving, you know?
Let's be fair. It's not
Feels
just
very
series.
of that time too.
It's a lot of Kristen Ashley's books that are pro cop. A lot of Kristen Ashley's books.
I will say, I think that she tried to address some things in later series, but it started off very, very pro cop.
And now we will talk amongst ourselves while Heather is a mom. But yeah, there's a lot of pro cop.
There is a lot,
Not just this one, but
I don't know. Like, I always struggle with that with romantic suspense though, because like I don't feel like a lot of romantic suspenses like exist without some cop stuff in it that feels weird and has always kind of felt weird. Same thing for like security agency, any of that, right? Like it's all
This
one has like
you kind of expect it to
3 or 4. I think 3 or 4 of the main guys end up being, I think, like some sort of cop or official or whatever.
Well, because we get the brother's book.
Hank.
Hank. I was like, what the hell was his name? Hank. Hank gets a book.
Eddie gets a book.
Is he the book with the rape victim in it? Is that right? No.
Luke, I think, right? No, Luke isn't. Luke's the one where we get more fat shaming in it. Be prepared for that one.
God. I already was over that in this book.
Yeah. Isn't Hank with Jet, the girl that we just introduced, or is he with like her sister or something? He's with one of them.
Never mind.
No, her sister doesn't get a romance in this series.
Yes, she does.
The Quiet Man is hers, isn't it?
You're talking about Lottie. I'm talking about, maybe it's not a sister. Maybe it's somebody else.
Her mom gets a relationship throughout the series.
That's not what I'm thinking of. I'll have to figure out what I'm thinking of. I don't know. Roxy and Jet. Is one of them Roxy?
Roxy is Tex's niece.
Okay.
Isn't Roxy the spin-off book?
No.
No.
Roxy's not a spin-off book. Okay. Yeah, Jet's sister is Lottie.
Love interest in book 2. Allie's like the last
Allie's Hank's sister.
Yes, I know that. That's not what
Hank and Lee. But no, Roxy's
not related to Jet. But none of you are reading my mind.
No, we're not. We are not reading your mind. There's an Ava in there, isn't there somewhere?
Maybe it's Ava. Maybe that's
I think it's Luke and Ava.
Nope, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Okay, that's fine. We'll when we get there, you'll go, this is what I was thinking of.
Right.
Is it Hector?
No, I'm not thinking of a man.
No, I meant his. I forgot.
Book 3 is Hank. I just want to check. So
book 3 is Hank.
So is Hank with Jet?
Book 2 is Eddie.
Roxy. Hank is with Roxy.
That's what I said.
Book 2 is Eddie
so
and Jet.
You were right. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think book 2 is Eddie and Jet, isn't it?
It is. I already said that.
Yeah.
I love that I have nothing to contribute to this conversation.
That's all right. It's not an important conversation.
It's not an important conversation. This is us trying to remember who's with who and then the family trees.
All right.
I can't wait until Roxy, because it means I get more Tex, and Tex cracks me up.
Speaking of,
with his cats.
Everybody loves Tex.
Tex is everyone's favorite, right?
Yeah. I also love that they were like, he's like, anyone can make coffee, proceeds to just bang the crap out of this like thousands of dollar espresso machine, and then they're like, this is from the gods. And he's like, I told you anyone can make coffee.
That sounds accurate. I mean,
listen, from recluse,
give it a whack.
/ weird street guardian man to
And
coffee
cat sitter.
expert and cat sitter to coffee expert is not a leap. He didn't leave the street, so he had to learn something. I guess.
Genuinely, I also love that he's like, I finally like stoop kid left his stoop and went to go like see the world. And then he's like, all right, girls, let's do something fun. And then he's just like, dance monkeys, go do something fun. And they're like, we're just eating.
He is like, what do you mean this is all we're doing? Where's the kidnapping? Where's the
Where's the guns? Where's the fires?
Where's the rocket launcher?
Sadie, that's Hector's. Thank you.
Yeah.
It is.
All right,
It's not Darius and Allie.
It's not Darius and Allie. No, Allie is a mafia guy. Darius is the one that got released.
Darius is getting released this year.
No, it's already released. It was released like a couple weeks ago.
Okay, well, yeah, this year, 2024.
Yeah, but it's out. Is the point? You can't say it's getting released. It's out. You can currently go read it.
It was a 2024 release.
It was a 2024 release.
Ren.
Yeah, I love Tex. I love
Allie and Ren.
He is like a staple throughout the entire series. I love what we get to see with him in the future. But I really like him in this book. I like this person is broken in a lot of ways, but also can be one of the best people that you know, and is still a part of society and is still worth knowing.
The scene where they break into that guy's house and he's just like, oh, you're getting cold feet, and just yeets her through the window.
Okay, hold on. Point that stuck out to me this entire book is that Indy's tall. She's like 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
And yet we also treat her as though she is 5'3" or shorter. And
80
just like
pounds,
throw her places.
Right. Everybody can lift
her easily. I'm like, if I was 5'9", you would not catch me.
As a 5'8" person, I am not a person that people go up to and they go, I can probably throw you around.
Right.
Let me tell you, as the person that got thrown around in high school because they thought it was fun.
Can't relate.
Yeah. No. Like I like it like I was like, what is she 5'9" or is she 5'8"? Like, what is going on?
I was 5'6" by middle school. I cannot relate to being thrown around as a person.
Dude, I didn't hit 5'3" until high school. So listen, there's a struggle here. But yeah, like it really threw me when like, and Lee too. I'm not saying they weren't strong enough to do it, but it just didn't align with like her being 5'9". I feel like to just get thrown through a window.
And also quite curvy.
For other people.
She's not super.
Lee is 6'2".
She's not super skinny.
Right.
Just so you know, Lee is 6'2". Hank is 6'1".
He's not throwing her around. If he was like 6'8", I would believe it. Okay, like 6'6", like I would believe it.
And he's built like a linebacker, and Hank is built like a quarterback. I just need y'all to know both of those. I have started this like.
He's not throwing her around. He's not throwing her around. Let's just stop completely.
Also, Lee was voted best smile in high school. Just so you know.
You were
Lee with his smolder.
A smile.
And I have it on my face. I can't get to like.
She's building a whole wiki for us.
I am. As soon as I figure out how to friggin' open it to the public.
What are you saying, Steph?
Oh, I just said that. I just made a comment that I thought I tracked weird things about books.
Oh, maybe I have to publish
it. They mentioned the smile a lot of times.
I like to publish it. Yeah. They did. But yeah, I just was so thrown that they kept like Indy's tall randomly, and then I'm like, wait, what? He just threw her in a window and she's 5'9"? This does not track.
Yeah. Oh, something I did not write down, but I do want to mention, and something that stood out to me from the first time I read it, is how we have a prominent side character that is a drag queen and his husband, and
Todd.
how accepting all of these super macho Colorado men are of
Todd and
that.
Stevie. Todd and Stevie are the best.
Again, like I think that Kristen Ashley has always leaned left in her books and also has grown, I guess, in the last couple decades, but you kind of always have some elements of her trying to be inclusive and having a wide array of side characters, if not main characters.
Yeah, Todd and Stevie are awesome. I love them, and I'm happy that they are just like permanently there in the series.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. What stood out as a timeless romance element? Since so much of this is very dated and very specific and very, this is your style or not your style, or your taste in music or not your taste in music, etc. What stood out to you as something that is just kind of universally true for the romance genre, or you can see, again, like the evolution of romance as a whole? This is Izzy's question, so if you want to skip it.
In this essay, we will discuss.
Well, I just feel like, okay, so like I just wrote up some thoughts as I finished. Because I feel like I said, when I was reading this, I saw like hints of the things I like now as I've read more like darker books. Like I feel like this book like romantic suspense tends to kind of borders on dark light romance almost.
Right.
Like it can kind of be a stepping stone. Like I, super enjoyed, though questionable, obviously, like when he like traps her on the bed with the handcuffs. I think that's hilarious every time. Yeah. And like also the edging in the book is really funny, how like the doorbell keeps getting rung every time they get close to starting any action. Like those are things that I feel like are things that I often see in other books now that I maybe didn't see back then when I first read this series. That stood out in my brain of like, oh yeah, I always love those moments. And maybe this is why I always think those moments are really entertaining, because I read this book series in like 2012 as a early romance reader.
I did like that instead of the like, it's taboo because he's my best friend's brother, it was instead, I need you to marry my brother because we need to be siblings. And I was like, that's amazing.
And also,
and then I almost cried when Kitty Sue and her mom.
Yeah,
I was like,
I did cry. Second generation friendship pact. I was like, don't
I
do
was
this
tearing up. I was just like, oh, Kitty Sue was also tearing up. So
yeah.
Oh, that part like made me cry. The box.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
So sad. But also just, I'm not gonna cry about this, but just the impact of Indy's mom. Like her best friend never replaced her. Her husband never moved on from her. It was just, she was their person, and she was their person even when she was gone, and how much they like treasured that, and instilled it, I guess, in the kids. It was sweet.
It was.
Yeah. Those relationships were nice.
I don't know if this is my first romantic suspense or not. I think it might have been, but
it might have been mine, honestly.
It has so many of the staples of the genre, but also like especially this first one to an extreme. Like I felt like, do you remember if you guys grew up reading Nancy Drew books, like the same beats hit at like the same chapters in every book, and one of them was always she like got kidnapped, like every single book. That was what Izzy felt like, or not Izzy, not Indy. That's what Indy felt like.
I do not get kidnapped, thank you very much. But I have avoided that all of my life so far.
She got, I don't know how, there were so many. It was a lot.
It felt like chapter. Something happens, she gets kidnapped, then she gets rescued, then there's a chapter pause, and then she gets kidnapped again.
Right.
Or she gets shot at, or
she gets shot at, or she's in a car chase, or she's in something.
Yeah.
Or she gets a dead body delivered to her, or diamonds, or what have you. There's a lot of people shooting at her.
Or the Kevster calls and says, "Help me, please." I love the Kevster, man.
Or she has psychotic mob bosses trying to call her.
She really got like shot at a lot without any of those people actively trying to kill her. You know, like none of them were like, "Oh, we're gonna take her out," but somehow she kept being there.
And
it's all Rosie's fault, man.
And some of those times she wasn't actually active. She didn't actively go into situations.
The first one, the very first shooting, was not her fault. She was at work. It was Rosie's fault.
Right. Oh man. Also, I really like Duke, and I love seeing Duke and Tex interact throughout the entire series. I just wanted to make that note. But the fact that they could not reach him because he was just traveling the country.
Yeah.
And he got lost in another state.
Also, Indy finally finding out that Lee has had the diamonds like the entire time, basically.
I would have kicked his ass.
Like what do you
it would have been me chasing him around with like a pot. Like 100%. I would have been like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
The first scene with him where he freaking hog ties Rosie.
Right.
And then like is about to beat the crap out of Indy, and she's just like, "You know me, you know me."
It's like, how much would have been resolved by you just saying that you had them?
Right.
Why did Allie not give him the heads up? Is my question.
Allie wanted it to be a surprise. Allie wanted to matchmake by having Indy in his bed. And she's like, "I know, he'll just know it's her, and then they'll start doing hanky
panky." Allie was like, "What are the chances that he accidentally kills her?" Basically 0.
Right? He'll just have.
And then she was like, "Oh, I was wrong."
Yeah.
Not good choices.
I feel like Allie is wilder than Indy.
Allie, I feel like, is a bit of a weird side character, especially here at the beginning. Just knowing where she ends up going with her book and stuff. Like, this is just an interesting start to that, I guess.
We're almost set up like she's going to be book 2. So the fact that we have to wait until like book 8.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that she's like basically the last person.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of, and we're done, basically. What characters are you most excited to get their book as of this first one?
Steph, because Steph hasn't read any of the other ones yet.
Oh, I was like, who is Steph?
Steph is the person on the screen.
It would probably have to be Allie, just because I don't know. Like, I know Susanna put the characters in the chat, but like, I don't know.
Is there none of the hot bunch guys that you want to book up?
Yeah, for this
I
one,
don't remember their names. Which are the ones in that list from that group? Because I've got absolutely no idea.
We mentioned Mace, and we mentioned Eddie, Hank, and Luke.
Hold on.
Stop. You're not clarifying who's who.
Vance is the tracker that is Native American.
Yes.
Luke is the guy that is in the hospital that was shot.
That has the weird mustache.
We didn't meet him. She doesn't know that.
No, because we met him in the half. He was in the prequel.
I stand by my
He is in the half.
Yeah, he's in the prequel with Lee. They describe his mustache.
Eddie was the one that was trying to also date Allie or date
I feel like I was most excited for Eddie to get his when I read this the first time. Lee's best friend that keeps flirting with Indy. I feel like he was who I was most excited for.
Yeah.
I also was always, like, from this beginning, I was always really intrigued by Darius and Vance and Mace.
I think I wanted Vance's. I think I was most excited for Vance's.
I was excited for Vance too. Yeah.
I don't think I cared much about Hank.
Hank is just very straight.
He's there.
He's very
boring.
Straight.
I mean, he's a cop. He's boring. Let's be honest. He was like,
he's a by the book cop. He's not even like
Right.
a
He's very
renegade
good
cop
book,
like
which
Eddie.
is like boring. Yeah, which is boring because then he like when they found the guy with the pot, he's like, I have to call this in. I'm like,
Right.
Poor
Kev,
Kevster.
you
The
can't
Kevster
ignore
was
it.
just trying to help the environment, okay?
Then he
exactly.
was like,
He couldn't leave them to
"I-
die.
I'll do the time.
I do think the irony of that being the thing and knowing like Colorado is one of the first legal states is
Right.
very
Mhm.
funny to me also.
Yes.
Right.
But yeah, I think I was also excited for Vance and Eddie were probably my top two,
Mhm.
like leaving this book.
I think I wanted Vance and Luke, if I remember correctly.
You didn't even meet Luke.
No, like by book 2, I think I wanted Luke. I'm trying to remember who was like I was most excited about.
Yeah, but we're not at book
I
2.
promise I'll pay more attention when I read book 2.
You're telling
Have
me
to
to
pay more
remember
attention. It
things.
doesn't matter.
You think I remember things? I just know I didn't care about Hank all that much. That's really all I remember. Hank and Hector, I did not care about.
You
most
didn't
of the
care about
series.
Hector? We haven't even met Hector yet, but I remember caring about Hector. All right, so next month will be February, Saturday 24th, the 24th of February. Saturday, February 24th, which is the last Saturday of the month, which we will do almost every month. Probably skipping March because it will be Easter weekend. We'll probably do the Saturday before that in like the 20s. But pretty much every month we'll do the last Saturday of the month. So Saturday, February 24th, and that is Rock Chick Rescue, the one with the green
I'm
cover.
sorry, what day is the 24th?
It's Saturday, the 24th. Rock Chick Rescue,
Okay, go ahead.
green
You got it on
cover.
screen.
Obviously it will say Rock Chick Book 2, but just, they're all very similar covers, very similar titles. Very
The
similar.
first words are Rock Chick on every single one.
The covers are so hideous. I cannot.
And make
start with
sure
R.
everyone gets their appropriate rhinestone fashion.
Yes.
And flip phones
Rhinestone
together for the
Guns
next
N'
5
Roses
minutes.
I
shirt.
do
was
not own
worn by
anything like
Indy.
that. I hope you know.
I'm gonna
Nothing.
send you a cowboy hat.
I
With
do not
platform
own
sandals.
a sequin or a rhinestone.
Flip flops. Or just
a
flip
heel.
flops.
It is
Not a flip-flop top.
February. In Pennsylvania? I don't think so.
Or like those
and your flip
shirts
phone.
with the
Don't forget your flip
fringe.
phone. Because let me tell you, I wanted to slam a
Right.
flip phone shut this entire book. I was like,
Oh my gosh, yes.
that feeling was so satisfying.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So good.
And the next book is Jet, who they just introduced as joining the coffee shop at the end of the book, and Eddie, who's Lee's best friend, one of his best friends. So yes, I'm excited. I
More
will
hot
say
bunch, more chaos.
we have the Rock Chick and the Hot Bunch. The Hot Bunch. Did I say that
Yeah, the
right?
Rock Chicks and the Hot Bunch.
That's fun. I don't think they're called the Hot Bunch in this book yet, right? Isn't that like
I don't
later?
think so.
Not yet.
Yeah, very excited. I'm also very excited, yes, for Daisy to pop up in book 2. So, as much as I had to force myself to read this book for this live show, it was still a fun time. So, thank you everyone in the chat. If you get the chance, leave me a comment and let me know if you have read this series before, if you're reading it for the read along, or if you're just here to find out without reading the books. I'm just curious who's reading and
We did
who's
a great
not.
job of summarizing what happens in these books.
Bam! I have to go watch the Royal Rumble. I'm rooting for Drew McIntyre. He is like 6'4" and Scottish and wears a kilt.
And could probably throw around
probably throw
Indy, the
Indy
5'9".
flowing her, and he
Yeah.
carries a sword, like a giant sword. So I mean, if you're into wrestling, it is wrestling. I will say is like the one sport where the men are like wearing hot costumes and are like committed to their bit. It's amazing.
I can see that.
I mean, they're paid for it.
Yes, they are.
Can you smell
But
what The
it's
Rock
fun.
is cooking,
Not him. No one cares about him. As he's a prediction to show up tonight. But anyways, I don't care about The Rock. I care about the
John Cena.
ones with the long flowing hair. That's who I care about.
That's all I got.
All right. This is fun. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I have to go. So we're
Get
going to be
those
done.
bootios. Yeah, yeah. That's the only one I remember.